Young millennials are the most diverse generation when it comes to their religious beliefs. In a Pew Research study titled Religious Composition of Younger Millennials, 50% fully believe in God, while the other half are unsure or don't believe in God at all. There is a large disparity when those statistics are compared to those of the baby boomer generation, where 69% fully believe in God. Why are younger generations straying from religion? In another Pew study titled Religion and Science, it was found that, quote, those who are not affiliated with a religious tradition are especially likely to think that science and religion conflict. So I sought out to speak to young millennials and experts in science and sociology to get their first-hand answers. What did young millennials think about religion? Did they turn to science or God for answers? Could someone turn to both? And of course, the age-old question: can science and religion really coexist?
If you want to crudely think of historic time periods in three eras, you can think of pre-modern, modern, and then postmodern. Pre-modern, everything was largely governed by tradition. You did what your parents did because that's what their grandparents did, and so forth, all the way down the line. And the answer for why things were the way they were was, well, this is the way it's always been done, and this is the way the gods or God have decreed it to be. Then you move into the modern era, and in modern era you get this point where you have kind of this idea of religion and science in this tension and in this kind of zero-sum game, that religion has this certain level of things that it controls, and science is kind of coming in, and they're in this sort of battle back and forth. When we move to postmodern, we get to the point where people realize that science has as many flaws as it has virtues, just as religion has as many flaws as it does virtues. And so the question is there even, how does one even know what is true? And in the postmodern world, it's basically, for most people in a popular sense, it comes down to what is true for them, what works for them.
I remember one day I literally Googled, are science and Islam compatible? And I was reading, and I found this really interesting quote, and it was something along the lines of, if science and Islam clash, it's because either we're wrong scientifically or we've interpreted the Quran incorrectly. So I think that kind of says all you need to know. I think they are compatible.
Religion is kind of the origin of some science. Religion was a way to collect, and still is a way to collectively think about our place in the universe and our place on Earth. A way to question what it is to have life. And that's what science is. Most science is, what are we doing here? What's going on around us? How do we find the answers to those questions? So I think in that way, they're very similar. Their goal is to explain what this all is. They do that very differently at times, and they do that very similarly at times.
A lot of people want to say that religion and science are in direct conflict, and I personally don't think they are. I think they tend to be complementary. Science depends on the scientific method to investigate an issue or a question. Religion depends primarily upon faith.
And I think especially for scientists who know what it is to know something scientifically, it seems obvious to us that you couldn't know whether God existed scientifically. You wouldn't want to insult religion by saying you have to prove to me that no, it's faith. It's a whole different realm of thinking. And so you're not doing religion any favors by trying to prove it scientifically. They're literally two different ways of thinking.
Comparing science to religion and creationism, sometimes it feels like you're comparing apples to oranges. Is it just randomness, or is there something out there? Sometimes I just think that, would it be such a stretch to say that it isn't random? And I don't think it's so crazy to maybe think it's a god. So I think maybe that's me questioning science a little bit.
While some may have reservations on whether science and religion can actually coexist, others see no reason why they can't live in harmony.
They coexist with me pretty comfortably, in that I've never read an article from National Geographic or from NASA that made me think everything that I was brought up on is bullshit. I'm able to accept that there are two ways of finding the same answer.
I think if you're all science or if you're all religion, I just think it's just too much of a narrow mindset. There's scientists out there that are religious, and there's people who are religious who also believe in science. So the fact that there's even people like that out there, it can definitely coexist.
Scientists don't understand the conflict at some real level. We're like very frustrated because, that's why Francis Collins wrote that book. He was like, no, look, this is my life, and I am very much a person of faith, and I am dedicated to the advancement of science. No conflict at all.
Certainly people don't find an incompatibility, and many religious groups don't see any contradiction between the idea of, an evolutionary account of human and persons, and still there being a creator. Science addresses issues of how, but it never addresses issues of why. And why is where you get into the philosophical issues. Now you can take a kind of a hard science sort of view, a scientistic view of these things, and say, well, there is no why, there's only how. But most people will say there are important questions of why that need to be answered, and draw upon a variety of philosophical and theological and ethical traditions to work through those things.
One of the things that I think plays an enormously important role in attracting people to religion is nicely expressed in a question that was raised by Immanuel Kant. Kant notes that there are three great questions. This is sort of Hellenistic philosophers posed three, said, kind of all philosophy can be reduced to three great questions. And the questions are, what is there? What can I know? And what ought I to do? So these are ancient questions. And Kant says, but there's a fourth question, and that is, what may I hope for? And that, I think, is the question that draws people to religion.
For many, the appeal of religion lies in its explanation of life after death, which otherwise could be a daunting thought.
I think as humans, we're blessed with the ability to have higher consciousness, to be able to think and, share these experiences and these emotions and thoughts among each other, but also that comes with a price, or we're aware of our existence, and that in itself is one of the most overwhelming things I think any human can really experience.
We're the only group of mammals who's aware of our own demise. It's imminent, right? So I want to know, when that happens, what's it going to be like? Where am I going to go? I know my physical body's not going to go anywhere. Can't speak to the soul, though. Can't speak to the soul.
There's also the explanatory appeal. Religions try to explain where we come from, where we're going, right?
But some people, religious or not, aren't searching for answers on the afterlife.
In the way that for some people, religion provides answers, and that's a comforting and satisfying feeling for them, science presents questions, which for me is more satisfying. I like that we may never know, but why not try to find out?
I think that's where a lot of people, especially my age, have trouble, is that they want those explanations. And I understand why they want those explanations. I'm not dissatisfied with the things that it doesn't answer. To me, there's a lot of joy in the journey. If I could just find everything that I was ever searching for, whether it be push of a button, whatever, that kind of defeats the purpose for me.
I can't see life without religion, and I can't see life without science.
For young millennials, science and religion aren't all that different. They both seek to find answers to life's many questions, just in different ways. By melding the two worlds together, young millennials have found a balance between the two that works for each individual differently. And so it seems that science and religion can really coexist.